Hey guys, welcome to No Code Engineer, and in this lesson we'll see how to think about databases in Bubble. Data is an important part of any web application, and it's really important for you to stop and think about databases before you start building your web app. Otherwise, you start building a web app and midway you're stuck with some problems, and usually those problems arise before you did not give enough thought into thinking about your database. You need to know what kind of data you're going to need for your web app and how your web application is going to use that data. When you think about data, you have to think about the different kinds of features your web application is going to have. When you think about the features, it will give you a really good idea of all the kinds of data you will need to create those features. Alright, so let's get started and think about databases with an example. For example, if you're making an app like Airbnb, we're gonna need a lot of data types for it. Well, actually not a lot, very few, because Airbnb, for an app like Airbnb, you don't need a lot of data types. It has very few but really important data types. But the data types, I mean the features it has. First of all, it has a lot of users. Then we'll have a data type named properties, because the users upload properties on Airbnb. Then the users send each other applications, because if you want to rent the property on Airbnb, you usually send an application to the landlord saying, hey, I want to rent your property, is it available, and stuff like that. So let's name that kind of a feature application. And then the users interact with each other and in a message page where they can send messages to each other, and let's name that kind of a feature message. And you can see with only these kind of data types, you can create an Airbnb-like application. Now let's think about what kind of information do we need for each data type. For example, for users, we're gonna need the first name of the user, the last name of the user, the sex of the user, and we're gonna know what kind of property the user is uploading on Airbnb. And then we're gonna know if the user is sending any application to the landlord. This data field property and this data field application are actually also data type. Let's give it a different color here. Same here. Then we're gonna have a data type called property. In the property, we're gonna know the size of the property, the address of the property, and we're gonna need a lot of pictures, number of bedrooms, and most importantly, the price of the property. In the application section, we'll need what kind of user is creating the application. So let's name it creator. And who is it sending it to? So the receiver. And for what property is the application being created, etc. For messages, you will usually type a message. So let's name it the body of the message. And you will usually when you're sending a message, you're usually sending a message to only one person. And let's name it conversation. This involves two persons in the conversation. Let's name all these fields. Also, application is one kind of a data type here. Let's name these fields data fields. As you can see, for an app like Airbnb, you need these kinds of data types to create all the features you need in Airbnb. And you need these kinds of data fields. Of course, you need a lot of data fields. You need to know who created the property and what date you created the property, and a lot of information in the property. You will also need the description, the rules, regulation, etc. But those are just fields, and you can add them anytime. But these are really important things to know, that what kind of data types you're gonna need, and then data fields just come one by one once you know the data types. Once you know that, okay, I need users, and then you think, okay, what kind of information I need for the users in my app? Do I need to know where the user was born? Well, not actually. I don't need to know that for an Airbnb app, And when I create a property, do I need to know when the property was bought, what price it was bought? No, I don't need to know, because people are not buying and selling property here. People are just renting it. When you have idea of data types, you'll have a good idea of the data fields for an app like Airbnb. Let's look at another example of a social network like Facebook. For an app like Facebook, you will need a data type and a data fields. Like any other app, Facebook has a lot of users. Facebook asks users for a lot of information. It could be first name, last name, sex, age, education, etc., etc. You could have a lot of fields there, but most importantly, it has a list of posts, because users usually create posts on Facebook. And post is another kind of feature in Facebook. Post has a text box, and then it has likes, comments, etc. And then people can have notification on Facebook. Notification also has text, and it has a receiver who receives notification, and then it has a yes or no features to know if the person clicked on the notification, if he saw it or not, So that yes and no binary indicator is really important for the computer to know if the person has clicked on the notification or not. And then we could have a messaging system in an app like Facebook. We could have the body of message here again, and we could have a conversation to know what conversation is that message part of. And that's it, guys. With these kinds of data types and data fields, you can create an app like Facebook. It's that simple. Now, when you go back to Bubble, in the data field here, you're gonna see Bubble already has the similar structure of database. It has a custom data type, and then it has fields for data type. If we are creating an app like Airbnb, we'll have a data type called property. We'll create it, and then inside the property we'll have a lot of fields. We could have address, it could be the field type will be text, then we could have a number of bedrooms, a field type would be number. We could have the size of the property, could be a number 2, and then probably lots of pictures. A field type with the images, and since it's lots of pictures, it will be a field, and we can click on create, and that's how we can have a lot of fields here for property. You can have a lot of information here, and that's the structure of Bubble. You have to have a data type and a data field. You could create that kind of structure right away before creating your app, or you can create data types and data fields as you create your app in Bubble. So you have a lot of flexibility, but it's really important. It will be really good to know to at least have an Excel file with all the data fields and data types mentioned in it, so that you are not lost and you have a really good idea of what you're making and how you're making your app. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back with more videos. Take care. Bye-bye. See you soon.